KFSR and Cmac present the Central Valley Ledger, a public affairs program featuring stories from all over the Central Valley with Sevag Tateosian, 90.7 KFSR.
I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Welcome to the Central Valley Ledger. We're on the beautiful campus of California State University, Fresno, in Studio A of the Mass Communication and Journalism Department. Today our guest is Dr. Sam Morgan. He's with Resources for Independence, Central Valley. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. And the reason I say that is because we had Mr. Hand on the program a couple of times, and
Yes.
so you're the new Mr. Hand.
Yes, I am. Well, I actually came from a similar agency, Central Valley Regional Center, which also serves people with disabilities, and particularly people with intellectual disabilities. And I worked there for 21 years. And I was in a position as a program manager there, and also worked as a liaison between Central Valley Regional Center and Ricv. And during my time, I built a relationship with Resources for Independence, and then found out about the position and applied and was fortunate enough to get it.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you.
I understand you used to attend Fresno State, so finding the studio was relatively easy for you, I imagine.
Yes.
Tell us what your education was, and also you were an athlete, I understand.
Yes, I was. Many years ago. I came here from Southern California on a track and field scholarship, and I ran track here for the Bulldogs for 4 years, and I majored in psychology. And I received my BA. I went on to get my master's and my doctorate.
Why did you stay in Fresno? I mean, you're from Southern California. I'm from Southern California too, by the way. Mm-hmm. Glendale is where I'm from. Mm-hmm. But what is it about Fresno that you said, you know what, I'm staying here? Because a lot of times people, and I'm sure you've heard about it, people say, you know, the jokes about us and our weather is hot and our air quality is bad. But you decided to stay. You could have gone anywhere. What was it that kind of said, you know, you're staying here?
Good question. After I graduated, I felt like this was a good place to establish a home, a life, and a family. And so I remained here. It's easier to get around here than it is in Los Angeles, where I'm from. I'm actually from Pasadena, California, which is right just up the 210.
Yeah.
I think you're on the 134 over in Glendale,
yes.
Right? And so I decided to stay here. Just the cost of living, the family-like atmosphere that I feel exists in Fresno, because it's a smaller metropolis with people that I feel are more connected and more family-oriented. So it's been a great place for me and my family, and for me to raise my 3 children.
So you're the liaison between agencies, and then how did you find out that they're looking for an executive director? And then what were you thinking at that time?
Well, actually, it was posted, and Bob, of course, he mentioned it to me and encouraged me to apply. He didn't guarantee me anything, of course, but he did encourage me to apply. And careful consideration, because I was extremely involved at the Regional Center, very comfortable with my position there, but I felt like this opportunity would allow me to do some things differently than what I've done previously in my 21 years at the Regional Center.
So you go through the interview process, you get the job. What are you thinking at that point where you got the letter or the call saying, congratulations, you're the new executive director?
Well, first of all, I was very grateful, very honored, and a little shocked that I received the offer. But then under careful consideration, the Regional Center was very encouraging, and Heather Flores, the executive director there, and even, you know, wanting the person that took over the position from Bob Hand would be someone that's connected to our agency, the Regional Center at the time. And so there was some encouragement there, and I met with my family, my wife, and we decided it'd be a good opportunity for me to step into that role and be able to help people with disabilities, even in a greater sense to some degree, because Resources for Independence serves people with all disabilities. So therefore, there's a greater opportunity to reach people than just people with intellectual disabilities.
Let's dive into disabilities a little bit. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us some common disabilities and some uncommon disabilities? And the reason I ask that question is Is it true that there may be someone with disabilities that's right next to you and you may not know it?
Absolutely. Some of the common disabilities would be cerebral palsy, would be seizure disorder, multiple sclerosis, and then one that's we've experienced a great spike in is mental health diagnoses like schizophrenia, major depression, severe depression, bipolar, and conditions like that. ADHD has been one that's risen in recent years as well. So those are some of the common ones. You may not necessarily notice that someone who has seizure disorder has a disability, because if they're not in the mode of having a seizure at the time, then they would appear normal and not have any issues whatsoever. But seizures can be triggered very easily, and then there's a wide range of seizure types that can occur. And sometimes a person won't even know if another person's having a seizure.
Is there like a definition, or is there, how do you know that someone has a disability? Do you just take their word on it, or is there something more that occurs?
Well, with Resources for Independence Central Valley, a person can come into our agency and they can self-disclose, and that's what we rely on. We don't require any testing or any proof of disability. We simply will take their word and provide services according to the need and assist them in any way that we can to acquire independence, because that's where our goal is for people with disabilities.
Let's talk about the history of your organization just a little bit. How long have you been around, and has it grown from where it was when it started?
Yes, we've been around for 40 years, and initially it was the Center for Physical Handicaps years ago, and then it became Center for Independent Living, and now the new title we feel encompasses what we really do, which is provide resources to provide independence for people with disabilities. So therefore, Resources for Independence Central Valley is the new name that was adopted by my predecessor. We do thrive on helping people, and we've grown immensely in recent years. And under my leadership, I plan to do the same and continue to reach people with disabilities to a greater degree.
Talk about your offices and where they are, because I know you're in Fresno, but I understand you have some offices pretty far away.
Yes, well, we have an office in Merced where we serve Merced County, and then we also have an office in Fresno, as you mentioned, and then also in Visalia.
Are you finding there's a need for your services? I mean, talk about a time, let's say that your services didn't exist or your organization didn't exist. Would there be a void?
I think so. Unfortunately, people with disabilities they don't have a voice. They're often overlooked. They're often not given the opportunities that people without disabilities are given. And we want to make sure that we're a strong advocate for people without disabilities. So for example, if someone with a disability in a wheelchair is at a bus stop, and the bus driver, because they're in a hurry, because they're behind on their route, and they know that stopping for a person with disabilities, especially one in a wheelchair, will require time and probably further make them be late or cause them not to get back on time with their schedule. So they may bypass them. And then that person with disabilities will come to us, and we'll be an advocate for them with the transportation company to say, this can't happen. They deserve to be picked up just like everyone else, even if it takes a little more time.
Just the fact that you're mentioning that says that that's happened or that may happen, which is interesting, because most people don't think that that might happen. But what are some other things that you've seen out there that kind of bothered you?
Well, people with disabilities tend not to receive the same opportunities for employment that people without disabilities receive, because employers focus more on what they cannot do instead of what they can do. So one of the slogans is, focus on what I can do, not on what I cannot do. So for example, if an employer is contemplating hiring a person with disabilities, they may say, well, this person can't take a box upstairs. They can't load a truck, but they can, if the employer would think about it for a moment, they can type at a computer, they can answer phones, they can do paperwork and do other things. So we want to encourage the population, encourage employers to see the positive things and how useful a person with a disability can be.
I thought it was interesting that the charter says that 51% of employees have to have a disability. Why is that important? And obviously you're following the charter.
Well, there's also another slogan that says, nothing about us without us. And that's important because we should not be providing or talking about services to people with disabilities without people with disabilities, to make sure that the services and the decisions that we're making are truly appropriate and will meet the need for them. And then we also want them to be involved. We're a center that serves people with disabilities, therefore we should have people with disabilities working at the center.
Say that I have a disability and I call your organization for assistance. What is the process? I mean, what are some of the questions that you may ask me, and what are some of the ways that you may help me?
Mm-hmm. Well, anyone can call, and we definitely are welcoming people to call to receive jobs, to receive housing, to assistance with applying for Social Security. If they need advocacy in any area, we are there for them. We have relationships with other community partners that would allow us to access community and generic resources in order to assist them. The question isn't so much what we're going to ask them, it's more how can we help you? And it's done on a case-by-case individual basis. So we listen to what the person with disability needs, and then we do an assessment, and then we seek ways to provide that service and meet those needs. If it's training, if it's mobility training, or transportation training, we provide all of that as well.
This may be a tough question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but as a community, do we understand people with disabilities? I mean, would you say, you know, Fresno as a whole, we get it, we understand, and we're there and helping people with disabilities, or do we have a long way to go? That might be a challenging question.
Well, unfortunately, I think, in my experience, that unfortunately people without disabilities don't really understand people with disabilities. And it's taken me some time from working with people with disabilities to understand what they go through to some extent. Imagine a person who has limited mobility, a person who has no arms or their limbs, they're missing limbs. It'd be difficult for them to do some of the day-to-day tasks that we ourselves take for granted. And so it'd be difficult for a person without disabilities to think from a perspective of a person with disabilities.
Talk a little bit about some more about the advocacy work that you do. Are we talking like policy advocacy, or are we talking like, you know, defending someone that's been wronged? Let's dive into that a little bit more.
Well, we do have a systems change person that is a part of our system, Independent Living Center systems, and they do actually, in fact, go to state legislators and do advocacy on behalf of people with disabilities in order to change laws, to make sure that they have universal accessibility and the right to employment and housing as any other person would without a disability. So those are some of the things that we do. But advocacy is a strong piece of what we do at Resources for Independence, because we are the voice for those who cannot speak for themselves.
You have some programs that help people with employment. Talk about some of the job type programs that you have.
We have ILPs or ILS, and they are independent living specialists, and they do work with people in order to help them get jobs, help them get housing, and access the community as anyone else would, in order to make sure that they have opportunities just like anyone else. We also have a creative careers area, and they work through the Department of Rehab in helping develop jobs for people with disabilities as well.
I used to work for United Way, and we partnered with you all on multiple levels, so thank you for that. So, you know, I'm a little biased because I enjoyed the partnership that we had when I worked there, because I think you have a great team, and you have a team that really cares about their job. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you is about funding. You know, funding is always tough in the Valley if you're a nonprofit.
Yes.
And so what are some of your needs? Where is your funding coming from? What are some of your needs? And if we donate, where would it go?
Well, you can definitely just call our offices at 559-221-2330, and that'll be an opportunity for you to make a donation to our nonprofit. But we also have an annual dinner that's coming up August 26th at the Falls Event Center from 6 to 9. And that's an opportunity for people to donate, people to participate in our silent auction, and for us to raise money to help people with disabilities. From that single fundraiser, we have an opportunity to employ people with disabilities and to continue employing people that serve people with disabilities through our agency.
If I'm a private company and say I need to hire several employees. Why should I hire someone with a disability?
Why should you not?
I'm putting you on the spot
Yes,
with some tough questions
Right.
here,
Yeah, well, my first response would be that you're getting a good employee. You're getting an employee that's going to be dependable and reliable. And we will provide whatever supports are needed in order to sustain the position and to ensure that they are doing an excellent job in the work area that they have been given.
So talk about technology a little bit and how your organization is using it. Are you training people on it? Talk about that.
Yes, we have several different programs for people who do not have sight, where they can speak to the computer and the computer will respond based on that. We have a JAWS program. Even on your telephone, if you have a smartphone, there's assistive technology even there. My phone, I actually set it to flash when a phone call comes through, because sometimes I have it on silent and I want to know that it's that it's ringing, and so that I don't miss any important calls. So a person that's hard of hearing and would not hear the phone, at least they can see it. So through our agency, when people come and they need assistive technology, we do provide it for them, even scooters and walkers and other technology through the computer system. Dragon Speak is one that we also use quite a bit. And then we have the ability to, I don't know if I get the term right, but to braille items or things so that people without sight can locate them.
It sounds like technology is assisting people with disabilities. In your opinion, are we going the right direction with technology? You're going to know this more than the average person because you work day in and day out in this stuff.
Well, assistive technology is continuing daily to improve and to advance so that people with disabilities or limited skills can live a normal everyday life. And I believe that technology continues to benefit people with disabilities, and we are encouraged about the landscape and the future of technology and how it's going to help people with disabilities. There are people with disabilities that drive, that recreate, that play sports. People without legs or limbs can run and throw and do other things. So technology is all over the place. And I am very excited about the future and how we as an agency can provide those services to people with disabilities to help them to be able to live a normal life and to do whatever they desire.
Housing programs, does your agency have any, and what are the types of things that they do?
We actually contract with the partner agency, the Housing Authority, and they're very integral in with us providing housing. So when a person with disabilities comes to our agency, then we refer them over to a person that we have a relationship with, and they set up housing and assist them as well. We also, in some housing developments, already have blocks or spaces that are allotted for our clients that we can refer them to as well.
So for the record, I'm a little biased here because I go to the park that you all partnered to build in the west side of Fresno, because, you know, my kids love it. Talk about how that park came about, because it's a beautiful park and it's brand new.
Well, that was a 12-year process. It was a project that actually began about 12 years ago. And I was actually on that project through the regional center, my previous employer, when it began. And we were working with Parks and Recreation then. I believe way back then it was Randall Cooper that was in charge, and we worked together with them, and there were some funding issues, and it was a lengthy process. But now that it's come to fruition, it is an excellent place for all people to recreate. It's not just a park for people with disabilities, but it's a park for all people. It's the only park of its kind, and we are very proud of it. It allows for people with disabilities to recreate and play with people that do not have disabilities. So it's not just a park for those that have disabilities and limited to only accommodating them, but it accommodates all people.
And the park we're talking about is Inspiration Park for our audience members who may not know or may not have been there. It's a beautiful park. It's off of Dakota or Polk, somewhere in there.
Yeah, Sean Polk.
Sean Polk, and it's a beautiful park. My kids love it. We love going there. There's a water feature.
Yes.
But when I first went there, I knew that you all, Resource for Independence, was involved in the project. And I know that it was a park that was accessible for everyone, including people with disabilities. But I didn't know, it looks like a park that we can find anywhere else. What are some of the things that make it accessible? Because again, when I went there, it looks like a normal park, so
Yes.
I don't want the audience members to think that it's going to be something different than a park that they're used to.
Well, that's a good question. Actually, the basketball courts that you see, they're beautiful, and they have adjustable rims. So that
okay.
a person that's shorter in stature, like myself,
Or a little bigger person like me can actually slam dunk.
Actually, yes, yes. So a person with a disability that has some height limitations, they can dunk or play, or even a small child can do that. We also have a softball field that has a turf on top of it that would allow for wheelchair mobility on it. We have a sensory area for those that are blind and without sight, so that they can feel the vibrations of the chimes and the cymbals. We also have other areas. We have a swing set, okay, and in that swing set, there's a swing that allows for a wheelchair, so or a person who cannot push themselves to be pushed by someone else. So there are several accommodations at the park that I think people will enjoy, people with disabilities and people without.
And in Fresno, we have some hot weather, and so there's a water feature that dumps water on the
Yes.
area, which my kids love. So why should people go to the park? Let's say that they haven't visited the park, and so they're thinking about it. What would you say? Why should they go?
Well, it's a beautiful park. It's very well kept. The maintenance is done by Arc of Fresno, which is a community partner of ours, and they do an excellent job. It's beautifully landscaped, beautiful layout. The splash park, in addition to the big pot that dumps over onto the kids, and they know exactly when to come over there. I'll see kids playing and playing and playing, and then the pot is filling up as the water feature pours into it, the hose. And then just in the nick of time, they'll run over and they'll dump right on them. But we also have sprayers, about 8 of them that are located there. And then they even have the opportunity to kind of aim the water at their brothers and sisters or friends.
I've been hit by that water several times, and in a hot day, it feels very, very good. You're talking about partnerships. I mean, ever since we started this interview, it sounds like you have a lot of partners that work with your organization. Why are partners so important? If an organization said we wanted to do things alone, why is that not a good idea, or is it a good idea?
Right. It's very important to work and be connected with the other agencies, because there are other agencies that do provide services that can be useful and help us and come alongside us to help us accomplish our goals and our mission, which is to help people with disabilities to make their own choices, to live independently through a wide range of opportunities and resources. And those resources are all around us. And so we want to make sure that there are some people that are specifically equipped in order to do a particular thing or provide a particular service. And we want to make sure that we get the best service possible for our clients and for our people with disabilities, so we access it through the community.
And have you, Fresno and its nonprofits, what I learned is most nonprofits are overworked, underpaid, underfunded. Are you finding that people are coming to the table and saying, yes, let's work together?
Yes, I've been very encouraged by that, especially since I've been Executive Director of Resources for Independence. People have come to me and offered assistance. We've had meet and greets, and they've invited me, and they've even bought lunch. and in order to form a relationship so that we can work together in the future. And I'm very optimistic about the possibilities in the future and our community partners. I'm also looking forward to people donating and coming to our fundraisers and providing finances to our park even. We're going to do more activities and functions there so that we can bring in more funds so that we can sustain the park.
We're running out of time this week on the program, but I want you to talk about this event coming up that's coming up in August. How can we get tickets? Tell us more about it.
Well, like I said before, if you call Resources for Independence at 559-221-2330, you can call and we can make sure that you get a ticket through our agency. We have Henry T. Perea who will be coming and being our keynote speaker. We also have a live auction with Flint Epps. He's very good. If when you think of auction, you think kind of boring and kind of stale. Well, no, he's very exciting. We also have Fresno State's own Doc Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Doc Lewis, yeah.
Right, who would be identified as a person with disability, but definitely doesn't consider himself a person with disabilities. And he's going to come, he's going to be a speaker, and I believe he's going to sing for us as well.
Interesting.
We also have a photo booth that's wheelchair accessible, and we're excited about all the things that are going to be going on. We're going to have, again, a silent auction as well.
Last question. If you had a magic wand, now that you're executive director, you can wish for anything for your organization, what would that wish be?
For people without disabilities, not to treat people with disabilities like they're disabled.
Good point. Dr. Morgan, thank you so much for coming on the program this week.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of the Central Valley Ledger. Our guest this week has been Dr. Sam Morgan with Resources for Independence Central Valley. Look them up at ricv.org. Thank you to the volunteer crew that is in the studio and behind the cameras making this production what it is. They're from the Mass Communication and Journalism Department at Fresno State. We couldn't do this program without them. And we're broadcasting off of the beautiful Fresno State campus. I hope the audience members listening to 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno enjoyed the program this week. Same with our viewing audience on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Tune in next week to a new edition.
KFSR and Cmac present the Central Valley Ledger every Sunday morning at 11:30. For a complete program schedule, visit kfsr.org.